It's alright.
Oh my god!
Yo guys, what is up? Max here on Borderlands 3 video, and today we are going over all of the weapon buffs in yesterday's hotfix. Now yesterday's hotfix buffed, if you did not know, the Ripper by 166% damage increase, the SF Force by 400% damage increase, the DNA by 166 damage, increased the fire rate, the projectile speed, the reload time, and also boosted the Malik's Bane by 33%. Now, we're not going to be talking about the Malik's Bane because the buff to it was just simply not enough to make the gun worth using still. It's still a meme, but we are going to be going over the other three, and we're going to be starting off with the Ripper, which I've been really enjoying. Now, the Ripper, if you guys did not know, has a mechanic, we'll call it, that when enemies that you melee take increased bullet damage from the Ripper. Now, this is a ×2 damage increase when you melee them, and the gun's it's a little confusing to use because you don't want to actually use it as like a melee weapon. You're basically just meleeing things to get increased gun damage. So using these things, you want to actually be using like a gun damage build, not a melee build. And one really, really cool interaction that has made this gun fun for me, that my chat told me about, I did not figure this out myself, is using the Stinger. Now, the Stinger does melee damage as a shield Nova, and then when you melee Nova with the Stinger, which you can do very easily on Zane with the Mantis Cannon, all the enemies that get hit then get debuffed by the Ripper debuff. So for example, if I melee this enemy, it now has the debuff and I'm going to do increased damage. If I Nova here, now you can see that the enemies that got hit by it all have that debuff, and they're all going to take ×2 damage from my Ripper. This is not like a laid bare, enemies take damage from all sources. It is just from my Ripper shots. However, I can spam out my Novas. Everything is going to get hurt from it, and I know it's kind of like, like all weapons are good on Zane, because honestly, like all weapons are kind of good on Zane, because commitment and all that gross stuff. But I really have been enjoying this, and I find it a lot of fun to use because it's a mechanic that I haven't really messed around with before, and the Ripper feels nice to use. Now, I will say one thing about this weapon is it chews through ammo, and you're going to be reloading it a lot, which is also nice on Zane because Zane can get a lot of reload speed very easily, but this thing has been great for me. Now, the Ripper does come in all elements, and if you guys want to farm this thing, you're going to be farming it from Shiv. And as you can see, it's not the most crazy thing ever. I was a little underwhelmed with it on Amara, and I'd probably be putting this weapon in like a B tier rank. To be honest, we'll be ranking the weapons today as well, and I think this is deserving of like a B tier rank. However, in the hands of Zane, spamming it with the Stinger Shield to just constantly debuff literally everything around you so that all of your shots are going to do more damage is a really interesting way to use this thing, and so much fun. I really have been having a good time with it. Let's see if we can kill Kraken, which is probably going to be pretty slow, and then we'll transition over to the DNA next. This is a radiation Ripper, so not the most damage. Hopefully we get this kill here. I was struggling with this thing against like Wotan, but for normal ads and stuff like that, it seemed just fine. Come on, you silly Kraken. Nice. So, it's okay. It's okay. Against the normal mobs, pretty good bossing. I would not use this thing, but it's an interesting playstyle. Alright guys, we're transitioning over to the DNA. Now, the DNA is a Mayhem 6+ exclusive weapon, meaning that if you want to farm this thing, you can only get it on Mayhem 6 or higher, and you can get this thing from General Trot. Now, I farmed for this thing for quite a while. It was pretty tough to get, but the DNA is a non-elemental elemental SMG that shoots in a star helix pattern and is kind of like a variant of the Kutzman SMG. The weapon shoots in a star helix pattern, and the projectiles in the past have been really hard to hit enemies. They increased the projectile speed, gave it some more damage, more fire rate. Pretty much everything about this weapon they buffed, and it's been feeling really, really good. Now, we're going to be using it on Amara. One thing to note on Amara, and I'm using pretty much the Chaos Queen build. I tried it with this skill because I thought this might be really good. Heavy Rain is actually really bad for this weapon because your projectile does the most damage when it splits, and it does that like split pattern right here is going to be doing when it's doing the most damage. And with that heavy rain skill, that projectile just wasn't splitting until it was like sniper range, like from me to that car, and I just found it to not be very good. However, with this weapon, I've been really enjoying it. I think it's pretty strong, and compared to the other SMGs, I don't think this is going to be replacing like the flipper or the plasma coil or anything like that, but I would be ranking the DNA in low A tier. I think this is an A tier weapon right now, which is really good because it was nowhere close to that before. It does decent damage, and as a Mara weapon with all the elements, it feels pretty cool. You could go down Purple Tree, to Purple Tree Capstone if you wanted with this thing, so that enemies wouldn't have any resistances to the elements that you were using, which could be a really cool combination with this thing. However, I've found that it's best just to rock a normal Phase Zerker Amara build with this thing. Seems to make it do the best, and obviously this gun is stronger on like Zane, because Zane is currently probably the best gun user, but I wanted to show it off on Amara because even on Amara, it's doing pretty good things, and Ties That Bind makes this thing even better, obviously, because ties is ties. But yeah, you should definitely check out this weapon if you haven't. There isn't anything too crazy like interaction-wise that I've seen with this thing. It does do splash damage. It does actually do self-splash damage. If I was to shoot at the ground right now, I would definitely kill myself. So just be wary of that. But overall, I think the gun's strong. I don't think it's a great bossing weapon, and it's not the best mobbing weapon either, just because of its projectile speed. But it is solid, and let's kill Kraken, and then we'll move on to the SF Force. Alright, Kraken spawn, and hopefully we get a good Kraken kill. We got Ties. We're gonna Ties the Bind the thing next to the Kraken, or well, let's Ties Kraken, and then we'll shoot the guy next to Kraken. There we go. Good stuff. Everything's dead. If you guys did not know, shoot the enemy that's attached to Ties, and everything will die. Alright, cool. Let's move on to the SF Force. Alright guys, our last weapon is the SF Force, which is a Malawan SMG. If you guys want to farm this thing, you need to go to Xylurgos, go to Skidar Basin, and there is an enemy in this middle village. I forget, it's like DJ Spinner or something. I should have his name on screen, but it's right around here, and you can farm him. After you complete a side quest, you get this as a quest reward, but then you can farm the enemy to get it again. The biggest thing you need to know about this weapon is it did get a 400% damage increase. It is a Malawan SMG, meaning that it has two elements that you can switch between. However, with this buff, only the primary fire got the buff. So this is a radiation fire, radiation being the primary element, incendiary being the secondary element, and the radiation is the only part that has the 400% damage increase. So do not use the secondary fire if you're going to farm this thing and use it. Definitely do not use the secondary fire because you just don't get the buff. This weapon's unique because it shoots musical notes and that like spinny beam. It does do splash damage, however, it does not do splash damage, which is pretty nice. And I was enjoying this thing. I mean, it's fairly decent. I don't think it's quite as good as the DNA, but it's pretty fast projectile speed, makes it a little bit easier to use the DNA, which is really nice. And the damage buff is solid. I don't think this thing, once again, is going to be replacing the flipper, the plasma coil, or anything like that. But it's been decent. I would place it probably high B tier. I think it's just below the DNA. High B tier, DNA being low A tier. And as you can see, I mean, this is a radiation one, so we're shooting against armor, so obviously it's not going to be that strong. But we do have ASE, corrosive, and shock, and it's not doing too much. However, against proper matching elements, it's fine. Versus like for something like the plasma coil, you don't need to match elements at all because like who cares? That gun just does so much damage. But it is a fun one to use and does decent. This is really not a great showing for it as we literally can't kill Sigdrifa. But yeah, that's the SF Force. Pretty cool weapon. I'm glad they gave it a buff. A little bit of a random buff, if I'm gonna be honest. But I like it. I like it. I hope if they're buffing DLC 2 weapons, they buff the mutant as well, because that's a weapon I never really got to enjoy, just because I think it's bad. But yeah, guys, that is the video. I hope you enjoyed. I'm not going to be talking about the tech spurt, because the tech spurt is still, they could give the tech spurt, oh, look at that. They give the tech spurt 100% damage, or 100% cooldown chance, and it still wouldn't be useful. That class mod just, its only real purpose is for like an early game class mod if you don't have anything else. So not too much to talk about there, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Sorry for rambling a little bit, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Take care. Peace. He resists shock. Oh, what a guy. What a guy. Is that 200 splash? Block. Oh, nice. DNA! Oh, you're kidding me! I thought we got it first drop. It's a freaking Gutsman!